why I don't use a tent, why I prefer a tarp, or an abandoned building, or an abandoned shed, or some fallen down structure, or around the back of an industrial site. The reason I don't really like a tent, it's probably threefold for me. Okay, so this little woodland is just off it's a B road that it's just off. So I've got noise of the traffic. That's alright, that doesn't bother me. What does bother me though, I've come to realise there's a lot of game trails here. But you can see them all dotted around. Lots of little beddings downs where and they are monk jacks as well. I've seen some little hoof prints. And lots of shotgun shells. Shotgun shells are literally all over the place. Look, another one here. Another one there. Two more over here. How cozy is that? A little fire there. I'm going to cook my chicken. I want to cook my chicken on the open fire tonight. I'm not going to use gas. So to get one of these questions out of the way that I get asked a lot is why I don't use a tent, why I prefer a tarp, or an abandoned building, or an abandoned shed, or some fallen down structure, or around the back of an industrial site. The reason I don't really like a tent, it's probably threefold for me. You're enclosed, you can't see your surroundings. That's probably number one for me. I like to know what's going on around me. Don't know why, I just do. Second one is they stand out. Even if you've got an earthy tone tent, they still stand out. You know, they're usually a geometric shape. And a tarp lends itself more to the environment. You can blend a tarp in a lot more. As you can see, I mean, look at this is the back side of my tarp setup. And yeah, you could throw twigs and scrub over your tent, but I don't know, I'm in love with tarps. I've got two of them. I've got a 3x3, which is that coyote brown one, and I've got a 4x4 in a forest green. My go-to firelighter, makeup pad and Vaseline, works a treat. Now unfortunately it looks like my wireless mic cable is shat itself, so you're on camera mic and will be for the next several days until I get a new one. Just sanitising the pan. It's true what they say, you know, in a forest it does, even if it's only a small woodland. Internet, when does a wood become a forest? Get in some built up area like a forest or a wood, it really does take that damp away that you're susceptible to. I can feel the difference, you know, there is a huge difference between being outside and even in a enclosed area with open, you know, with all those broken windows I was in last night and a missing door, that portico then, even the industrial area by the rubbish compactor, you know, 3 sides and a roof. The garage at the church building site, 3 sides and a roof, it's all it takes is to take that damp away. That's still got free passage of air movement. Ooh. How delicious does that look? Little tip for you, if like me, you love garlic, but you don't like peeling them and shelling them, grab yourself one of these, get the clove pointy side down, you don't even have to peel it. Goes right down to that hard bit that you always throw away, and it basically keeps the shell on this side. Yow, it's getting hot. Do you remember that post I put on? Maybe about a week, 10 days ago. Those chicken pies were very nice. Asking you to put on all those pertinent questions that you were screaming to know. I'm going to answer them. Shut up. Well, I don't, alright, so shut up. 47 comments, we might be here a while. So this first one is from Sakaya. Now, from memory, he's been on the channel for quite a while. He's been a supporter for several months, I'd say. And he says a lot of fellas I grew up with had the tattoos on their fingers. What do yours say? And did you get them at a mate's house or a parlour? Right, well, I got them at a parlour in Bristol in UK, and what they are, I'm sorry Sakaya, but you're the first question. It's the first one I'm going to deny answering, because they are very personal. They have a very special meaning to me. I will say each finger is something different, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And I'm not going to apologise for not answering it, but they are there for a reason. Mr. Little Genius 1 asks the next one. Would you recommend some of your favourite books, please? I don't really have a favourite book. I used to be quite a big reader. Probably 20 years ago, prior to that. I used to read a lot of James Herbert, Ken Follett. There was a lady author as well. Val McDermott. They are some of the more fiction styles. Non-fiction are very spiritual based. Yeah. Mark NS asks, how do you get by with no fixed address for bank account, phone account? Well, yeah, alright, I don't have a fixed address, but I do have in London what they call a Dropbox, and it's basically, it sounds like a real address. So for example, say it's Suite 115 39 Bartram Street, London, W1, blah blah blah. So it sounds legit. NHS, bank, everything like that, HMRC, as far as they're concerned, it goes to that address. That's how I get by with that. So living on the street, being homeless, that doesn't affect you. In the UK anyway, that doesn't affect you. Zanakuda asks, how do you dry your tarps and other gear if it gets wet? FAQ would be a good video idea, mate. I bet it would do good numbers. Yes, that's not really an issue because it's used daily, especially sleeping bag. So if it gets wet, it's got a bivy bag on the outside. Those that are interested, it's an Altkit Hunker XL. There's no issue with having wet gear. When I was working in London, I had that part-time job. If my tarp got wet, I used to string it out and just let it dry. But because I'm basically pulling it out on a daily basis, having it wet throughout the day, only for it to get pulled out again that night and reused. It's not an issue. Last night, for example, I was at a truck stop, some industrial wasteland in a truck stop area. The night before that I was in a golf course and the tarp did get quite wet, but because I pulled it out the next night and used it at the truck stop industrial land, it dried by the time I went back in the morning. So that doesn't cause any issues out. Matthew Treadwell says, "You're an amazing poet, you just don't know it." Okay, he's just not asking a question. Matthew Treadwell again, so maybe this is it. "I understand what you mean, the positives outweigh the hardship. How do you get your clothes washed out in the parks?" That's one of the difficult things, getting the clothes washed, which is one of the reasons I like to check into a hotel every sort of 10 days to 2 weeks, thereabouts. Cheap budget hotel. That way I can jump in the shower fully clothed, soap everything up, get everything nice and clean, get it stuck on providing the radiators are on, chuck it on the radiators for the morning, and that's how I clean the clothes, stay sane, get clean myself, organise my gear. I do also like to pull my bedding apart, turn that inside out and air it out around the room just for, the duration that I'm there. Anton JW, "For yourself, why cycling versus walking?" Because I've got a lot of crap and I don't want to carry it, and I love cycling. I mean, I wouldn't be able to go from the north of England to south of England as easy as what I can with a bicycle, and as enjoyable. The downside to having a bicycle though is I can't access as many places as I would like to be able to sleep. When you've just got a pack on, it's easier to get over fences, through bushes. With a bicycle, not so much. Anton's getting another question in here. "What WRT to your plan to buy land to build a shelter on? How, considering UK planning laws, Kiwi?" That's easier to answer. If it's over 12.5 acres, you can slowly develop it into it being able to have a dwelling by going a certain route in the small holding area. There's a good guy on YouTube called Field to Farm. He goes into it very, very well. He explains how you can do it, which gave me that. Yes, that's a future plan. Oh, Anton JW again, taking liberties or what, mate? What's this? Number 3. "There are flashes of insight in your videos. What else is behind your lifestyle and in not wanting to live the regular house 9 to 5 monthly bills lifestyle? Could you even go back to that life now? Do you find this lifestyle personally transformative, or perhaps as a continuation of such a journey?" Wow, that's a good question, Anton. Very good question. I don't know if I could go back to living in a house full time. I would like a base that I can rock on back to when I feel like it, and also have a base to be able to store stuff. It was good. I've started carrying more stuff ever since I gave up my lockup, which I had in London after I lost my flat. Everything went into storage and I was paying and paying and paying. I paid for it well over 2 years, and it got to the stage where I'd paid more in lockup fees than what the stuff was worth. So I ended up just getting rid of the whole lot and keeping just a few essentials, which is why now for the last 6 to 8 months I've been carrying a lot more stuff. I do find this lifestyle transformative. It's amazing what can happen to your psyche when you strip everything away and you just get back to it. It's very personal, as in everyone will experience it differently, I'm sure. For myself, I've found it very beneficial, both here and here. More so here. The random conversations that I tend to have now with people of all walks of life on any type of subjects seem to be more connected, more meaning and feeling in those conversations. It's hard to explain unless you get there yourself, and you won't regret it when you are there. Big Mac 5859. Have I got a driver's license? Would your medium-term goal be better to get a car and camp in that? You'd be able to charge power banks for heating and cooking. Have you ever considered it? I've got one of the basic licenses. What is it, the learner? I just didn't bother transferring my Kiwi one, and I lost access to that. I don't know if I'd want a vehicle. Cost is an issue. Fuel, insurance, tax, maintenance, upkeep. No, I don't think I'd want. If anything, I'd want a decent bicycle with proper carrying system. That would be key to me. I'd consider a boat as well. That would be so peaceful on a boat out in the middle of nowhere. I used to love sailing in New Zealand, and you don't need a license for a boat either. If you could get regular work, would you accept it, or do you prefer travelling? I used to have a job before YouTube took off. When YouTube started paying me money, and they're not paying me much. It's enough to get food and get by, you know, things like that. But, I mean, it's not a life-changing amount by any means. I did have a job, a part-time job in London, 3 mornings a week. When I knew what YouTube were going to be paying me an average on a monthly basis, it was about the same as my part-time job. So the guy that was working 2 of the days a week, he needed full-time work. He was in a bit of a bind as well. So I asked him, and he said yes. I said sweet, you can have it, and he's doing it now for 5 half days a week. So it was a win-win for everyone. Plus it enabled me to get out of London as well, and pedal around doing this. Morning guys, sorry about the bed here. I've just woken up, it's pretty early still. I've just been thinking, this video was originally over 30 minutes, it was like 32, 33 minutes long. And I just feel that's too long for one sitting for people of YouTube and the internet. So I'm going to split it straight down the middle. This is going to be the end of part 1. Part 2 is going to be released 12 hours after this one was released. So there's going to be a 12-hour gap between this one and part 2, which continues with the questions and ends on... You'll have to wait and see what it ends on. So apologies if you're looking forward to seeing the whole thing and going through all the questions. As I've just explained, that is the case. Cheers for watching guys. See you on the next one.